The ongoing national conversation around the poor state of roads in Kampala has brought to the fore the reality of a failure by government to account for funds provided to run city affairs. With this in mind, we had a sit-down interview with Lord Mayor Erias Lukwago to throw more light on KCCA's finances. According to Lukwago, revenue collected from the Greater Kampala area accounts for 70% of the nation's budget.
Well, it's in the form of taxes. You can talk about paying the income tax, talk about value-added tax, these other taxes, import and export duties imposed on goods and services here in the city, and also rental revenue.
Unfortunately, the money KCCA gets from the national coffers as allocated in its annual budget is only a small fraction of this percentage. For this reason, Lukwago points out that they have been lobbying government to increase the funds allocated to KCCA by 3% to 1.5 trillion shillings. KCCA has seen a fluctuating budget in the last few financial years, with the authority allocated 465 billion in the 2021-2022 financial year, 475 billion in the 2022-2023 financial year, and 423 billion in the 2023-2024 financial year. In this financial year of 2022-2023, for the 475 billion that was allocated, 78 billion was earmarked for roads and drainage, but only 9 billion has so far been disbursed.
So essentially 9 billion can construct only 1 kilometer as per the scale we already have. Of course, we are fighting it, but it can only cater for only 1 kilometer if we are to go by the KCCA scale.
To make matters worse, for the 2023-2024 financial year, funds for road development have further been slashed from 78 billion to 10 billion.
With the slashed budget from 78 billion to 10 billion, you can imagine, you can expect what's going to happen. That's why I am telling the Kampalans to brace for the worst. And when you put across this message, they tend to think that actually you are just doing nothing, you are just lamenting.
Right now, a 1 trillion shillings loan from the African Development Bank towards road development is expected to offer much sought relief for the cash-strapped authority. But Lukwago says it's critical to ensure that there's value for money if the city is to benefit from the loan.
Our colleagues in the institution are saying it can only cater for 69 kilometers, and for us we are saying no. If we have a total road network of 2,110 kilometers, and what is paved is only 30%, roughly 650 kilometers, and you are going to use 1 trillion to construct only 69 kilometers, when shall we achieve our target of turning the whole of Kampala into a functional city?
Nonetheless, Lord Mayor Lukwago argues that it's time to change the nation's budgeting system and allow for funds collected by the various governing bodies to be spent at source instead of reverting them back to the National Consolidated Fund.
Ordinarily, we should be able to spend, because annually we collected after 100 billion Uganda shillings. 100 billion Uganda shillings. At least if they said, okay, disburse that money in accordance with your own priorities. For us, we should consider infrastructure transformation as one of the key priorities where most of this money should be geared to.
KCCA is not the only entity suffering with resource shortages. Local governments have long argued for a similar change in the budgeting system due to the perennial shortages that they suffer, which in many cases affect service delivery.
Municipalities are failing to collect garbage, but also to offer other relevant services. Councils are failing to see it because the money is still at the center. Now this one demoralizes.
To make matters worse, some of the funds are disbursed at the end of the financial year and the local governments are unable to utilize them.
Because how do you send me 4 billion, 5 billion, which you took on 30th June, send it in May, that they use it before 30th of June this year?
It now remains to be seen whether government will answer Lukwago's plea and whether, if responded to, it can bring about a change in fortunes of the city's affairs. Joyce Nakato, NTV Weekend Edition.